Battery metals are becoming increasingly talked about, and lithium is up there. The price of lithium has soared recently, and adding to this, there was a sale in Australia that saw a second auction of lithium concentrate in just 2 months, attracting a top bid. There was a whopping 79% up on the first tender on the web-based battery metal exchange in late July. So, price is on the way up. We're talking now about lithium and the market. Is Anton du Plessis joining us now? He's the chief executive of Zinnwald Lithium, which has an advanced lithium project in Germany. Welcome.
Thank you, Jeremy.
First of all, congratulations. You're the first chief executive I've spoken to post-lockdown in the studio, which is great. And it's what a subject to start us off on, lithium. We've been talking a lot about it during lockdown. As I say, it's a battery metal, but explain a bit more about it in the context of the broader mining sector. How important is lithium?
Well, lithium is one of the critical elements of batteries, as you rightly said, and electric vehicles, if you believe in the electric vehicle sort of shift in the auto market, then you will have to believe in the future for lithium. It's a small part of every battery, but it's a vital part of every battery. And overall, it's a very small market in the context of other commodities, but it's enjoying exceptional growth on the back of this shift to EVs. So we're seeing sort of 20+% growth in demand year after year. And it is a mineral that's mined, and mines take a long time to come on stream. And that's what's limiting supply from catching up with demand. So that's why you're seeing the impact on prices.
Well, that's an interesting point to pick up on as to where Zinnwald is along that road to production. Whereabouts are you? And in terms of the timescale, what is the projection?
Sure. So, I mean, we're a feasibility stage project, and amongst other projects in Europe, we're actually one of the more advanced. Given that, we still have more work to do before we reach an investment decision or construction decision. But we're well advanced on that process and are working towards that.
My understanding is as well that the EU doesn't actually have any lithium resource within the European Union. Is that right?
There are resources, but they're not currently manufacturing lithium in Europe from European resources at the moment.
So how important is Zinnwald to the EU?
Well, I mean, we will be a small operation, but as I mentioned before, we're one of the more advanced ones in Europe. There are not currently any producing lithium mines in Europe, so we hope to be, one of the earlier ones amongst that group. The EU last year made lithium one of its critical materials that they really want to encourage the local production of. And if you think about how important the automotive industry is to Europe and to Germany in particular, we're very well placed for that. So our project is located in the former East Germany. It's about 35 kilometers from Dresden, and that is really in the heart of the German automotive sector. So I think one of the things that the pandemic and lockdown has shown us is the importance of local supply chains. Global supply chains have to some extent broken down across industries, and that has really highlighted the importance of local supply. And we hope that we can be an important part of local supply of what is a critical part of a new technology in Europe.
One thing that we're witnessing, talking about the global market for this, is that China controls a lot of it, doesn't it? How does that does that work to your advantage, do you think, being outside of China and being a potential producer of lithium? How is that dynamic going to work? I mean, what is China doing to the lithium price, for example?
Well, China has gone all in on the conversion to EVs, and I think that transition has been slower in other parts of the world, which has meant that manufacturers in other parts of the world have been slightly slower to react. But I think that is changing now, and you've seen the significant investment that players like VW and Daimler in Germany have announced that they're going to put into converting factories to EVs and so on. And I think as they sort of start fleshing out those plans and the scale of those plans becomes bigger, the thought of being reliant on suppliers on the other side of the world for what is really a critical component will become more important to them, and then local supply will become an increasingly critical element. I mean, think about it. If you are an auto manufacturer and you have to write an 8-year warranty on the battery in your car, then being able to have reliable supply from a local source that has been manufactured in line with EU rules and regulations, both environmentally and in terms of labour rules, etc. I think that is a fundamentally attractive thing to some of those players.
Let's go back to where you are along this road to production, this feasibility stage. What is the process from here? What are you having to do? And of course, the other big question is, how costly is it, and what are you going to do to try and address that issue about the cost and the cash burn?
Sure. So, I mean, we took over this asset really a little over 6 months ago, and what we've been doing in the intervening period is restructuring the ownership of the asset. So it was previously held in two hands. We've managed to consolidate that into one. That now allows us to control our own destiny in terms of how quickly we move forward. We do have more work to do. So next steps for us are ongoing test work as we look to make a slightly broader range of products than was initially envisaged in the feasibility study. We also need to do value optimization, really, optimize this project as much as possible before we get to that sort of construction decision. So the immediate plan is to push ahead on those fronts. At the same time, we're ticking off various things like sort of finalizing site locations, doing test work, as I mentioned. That will then be an essential part of getting offtake agreements in place, etc. So all of those things need to come together and fall into place before we make a final decision to build. But we're progressing on those fronts.
And of course, that decision to build presumably will require some sort of extra funding. How do you go about that?
Well, I mean, there are various sources of funding for any mining project, and obviously in simplistic terms, they fall into the broad buckets of equity and debt. This will be a combination of those. There are a number of options that we're examining, from sort of normal project finance debt, potential offtake related debt, etc. The board is looking at all of those, and ultimately, as we work towards it, we'll make a decision on that.
Yeah. Let's take a look as well about some of the milestones you're looking at, so that investors that want to get into Zinnwald can check to make sure you're on target. What do you see from here on being the major points to watch out for?
Well, as I said, we need to refine our plans. We need to update our feasibility for the new products. So that is something we're working towards. We need to deepen our relationships with potential off-takers and look to do that. And we also have a path to tread in terms of permitting. So we have to complete our permitting process and get those in place before we are in a position to start building.
So this time next year?
With a fair wind, we will try our best.
Yes. Just one final question. Has the last 18 months, or the company hasn't been around that long, but do you see now that we're getting back, hopefully, to some sort of relative normality, do you see an opportunity here to speed up and move ahead faster, or are the brakes going to have to be applied again, do you think? I mean, we're concerned about this Delta variant of COVID. How you navigate that as a chief executive?
It's been a challenge. Travel has been difficult, and I'm always thankful that our project is right here in Europe and not in some more distant part of the world that is still difficult to get to. So now it's easily possible to get to the site. We've got and have had throughout this process a team on site in Germany who've been with the project really since its inception. So they've been able to work pretty seamlessly remotely. Things always take longer in that configuration than they do when everyone's in the office, because it's not only our team, but we have to interface with regulators and authorities and so on, and that can be a challenge. But Germany is a country that seems to have things under control, and that's been certainly very helpful to us.
Yeah. Well, best of luck. We look forward to hearing more.
Thank you very much.
About the progress at that resource. That's the Chief Executive of Zinnwald Lithium, Anton du Plessis. For more videos from us here at IGTV, join us on Twitter at IGCom, Instagram, and subscribe to our YouTube channel.